Good morning. Welcome to lesson 2.2, compare and order fractions and decimals. We're on page 75 in your math book. So today we're going to be comparing the fractions or the decimals. Here we've got 2/3 versus 1/3. Well, if I draw a little model or picture, I can see that 2/3 is greater than 1/3. If it has the same, that's if they have the same denominator. If they have the same numerator, so the same numbers on the top, 2/3 and 2/5. Well, I always think of like a chocolate bar because I'm a chocolate lover. And so if I had a chocolate bar cut into thirds and I had a chocolate bar that was cut into fifths, would I want 2 pieces of the third or 2 pieces of the fifth? And I'm really good at sharing, but not so much with my chocolate. So I would definitely want the 2/3. Down here we've got 3 numbers we're comparing. Whenever there's 3 numbers, I see if there's one that's just really easy. So they want at least to greatest. Is there one that I can tell is absolutely the least or absolutely the greatest? And I see a 6, and I see a 5, and I see a 5. Well, 6 is going to be my greatest. So that one's going to be easy. I can put that one at the end, 6 1/2. Then I have to compare 5 2/3 and 5 5/8. Well, the numerators are not matching, the denominators are not matching, so I need to find a common denominator. And this is where we want to find the LCM, the least common multiple. So if I'm counting by 3s and I'm counting by 8s, what's the first number that is in both of those rows? So we have our 3s and our 8s. Remember how I like to start with the bottom number or the biggest number? So we have 8, 16. Well, 3 doesn't go into 16. 24. Hey, 3 does go into 24. So I usually go like this and go 24. It's kind of cheating because I don't write all of them out for 3. But I just know that both of those go into 24. Not really cheating. It's a shortcut. Okay, so I've got 2/3 and 5/8, and I'm trying to decide which one is going to be the smallest and which one's going to go in the middle. So when I multiply by 8 to get a 24 on the bottom, that's the denominator that we like, it's 5 16 24s. On 5 5/8, I need to multiply by 3 on the top and the bottom to get 24 on the bottom. And I get 15 24s. Wow, those are really close, 16 and 15. And they're only 1/24 apart from each other. But this one still is going to be the smallest. So I'm going to go back to the original number, 5 5/8. 5 5/8 is less than 5 2/3, going back to the original numbers, is less than 6 1/2. You can also read it backwards. 6 1/2 is greater than 5 2/3, which is greater than 5 5/8. Okay, let's move over to page 76. Compare 1/2. 1/2 is the same as 0.5 or 0.50. Right now it's asking to compare 0.92 and 2/7. Well, we've got a fraction and we've got a decimal and a fraction. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, 2/7, I know that that's less than a half. And 0.9, that's like almost a whole. So just by looking at 2/7 in my mind picturing 2/7, I know that 2/7 is less than half. And I know this one is more than half. So I can say that 0.92 is greater than 2/7. You could also compare 2/7. Oh, here it is. So they're saying there's the half and there's 2/7. So you can see 2/7 is less than half. And this 0.9 would be clear over here somewhere. Okay, compare 0.8 to 3/4. So 0.8 is already in decimal form, and it looks like they want to convert the 3/4 into decimal form. So you can either go 3 divided by 4 and work out the division and get 0.75, or remember the trick, 4 times 25 is 100. If you can get 100 on the bottom, then the number on top, 75 hundredths, and you say it out loud, then you have 75 in the hundredth spot. So then I can compare my 0.8, and when there's only one number here and there's two numbers there, so there's two spots filled up, 75 hundredths. I like to put hundredths over here too, because 8 tenths and 75 hundredths, sometimes people get mixed up and they're like, oh, 75 is more than 8. But it's not really 8. It's 80 hundredths or 8 tenths. But it's hard to compare tenths and hundredths, and people get mixed up. So that's why I like to compare hundredths and hundredths. So 0.80 is greater than 0.75. Let's look at the bottom one. Here they have a chart, and you can compare using the chart, just like I taught you earlier in yesterday's lesson, is to fill in a lot of the decimals and a lot of the, well, here I put in a fraction. If you fill it in, then it's going to help you. So we have 0.95. That's almost a whole, so that's probably going to be at the top. 3 tenths, that's 0.3, so that's a third the way through about. 1/4 is 1/4 the way through, and 0.45 is really close to half. So then if I had to put them least to greatest, using my number line, I can go to the smallest, next smallest, in the middle, and that's the largest. All right, order from least to greatest. We've got a 3, a 3, and a 2. So it's really easy to say, hey, the 2 is going to be the least. And so you can write that one down and forget about it. Then we have 3/6 versus 5/8. There's a lot of ways we can look at this. 3/6, in my brain, I can look at that and just know that that's half. And then I'm looking at 5/8 and saying, well, is that more than half or less than half? If I know this is half, what's that compared to half? And half, this is a little bit more than half. 5/8 is a little bit more, because 4/8 is half, 5/8 is a little bit more. So then I would have 3 and 3/6, which is 3 1/2, and 3 and 5/8, which is a little bit more than half. Over here, 0.8, and then here we've got 4/12. Well, 4/12 is a third. So if I'm thinking on a number line, here's my 0 and here's my 1.0. 0.8 is almost to the 1.0. 1/3 is clear down here, closer to this. So 1/3 is going to be less than 0.8. 0.22 versus 1/4. Well, if we get 100 on the bottom, then we can change it to decimal form. So 25 hundredths. So we have 0.25 versus 0.22. 22 hundredths is less than 25 hundredths. 1/20th is less than 0.06. And be careful when you see something like this. A lot of people will put 0.5, but if you say it out loud, 5 hundredths, then it means we need 2 spots. 5 in the hundredths place, and you'll put a 0 there to hold the tenths place. There's 0 tenths and 5 hundredths. Here's another example where try to fill in a lot of numbers. It'll make it easier as you're comparing the numbers. The bonus word today is fractions, and I hope you have a great time working on this lesson. Thanks for watching.